Have you ever felt stuck in your growth journey, wondering how to build resilience in the face of challenges?
Or maybe you're looking to shift your mindset and unlock your full potential.
Well, if you said yes, then you are in the right place.
Welcome to the Stretch Zone. I'm Hannah.
And I am Feds.
And here we explore self-development, nurture resilience, and embrace the mindset shifts that help you grow beyond your limits.
Hello and welcome to season 3. I'm so excited.
Season 3. How did that happen? We're still here. We're still doing it. I'm so proud of us.
I know, right? I don't know. I feel like time flies, honestly. But I'm really, really excited. We're going to have so many nice topics to discuss and a few surprises along the way, which is always nice. But let's start. Yeah, first things first. How are you, Hannah?
Yeah, really good, thank you. You look all rugged up. It's heading into that time of the year, and I'm still... It is warm. It is cooler, here, but it's really muggy today. So
yeah, I'm reaching that part of the year where I would definitely spend like most of my days in bed. Like I'm fine with winter. I feel autumn is like,
really,
just,
God, I love
yeah.
It's my favorite time of year.
And I've like the weather is being so weird. Like it keeps like it's relatively warm, but then at night it gets so cold, and so I've got a million different types of clothes around, and I'm like, what am I gonna wear? Like it's time consuming, and it just takes a lot of energy, you know?
Here I am, desperate to wear some of my jumpers.
Oh, yeah, honestly, like I definitely prefer summer because I don't have to make decisions. Like I have like the same kind of sundresses, and every day I wear pretty much the same stuff. Like winter is just, is it gonna be cold? Is it gonna be a little bit warmer? Yeah, no. So yeah, I'm literally wearing all black all winter, like minimizing decision fatigue, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today.
We are. I love that little link in there, Feds.
So I'm getting good at this, you know.
Right.
So, well, okay, so let's start with a little definition. What is decision fatigue? It is something that I believe everyone has experienced at least once in a lifetime, probably even more than once in a lifetime. It's that feeling that you get when someone asks you, you know, what do you want for dinner? And literally, you'd rather move to another country than decide. Um, and it happens to me pretty much on a daily basis when I have to think about this kind of stuff. Decision fatigue is when your brain gets tired simply from making too many choices, too many decisions. It happens, for example, when we have to pick what to wear in the morning, especially if you are the kind of person who doesn't care that much about these things, and you're like, yeah, I'd rather be doing something else, right? But you have to make a choice. When you go to the supermarket and you have to pick what to cook for dinner during the week, and you just simply don't want to make all of these decisions. And they're like a lot of little decisions that we have to make every day. So for people who move abroad, it's something a little bit different, but it starts early. It starts by asking ourselves, like, which country do I want to move to? Which neighborhood, which city do I want to move to? Which school do I want to go to if you're studying abroad? Some students want to study abroad. What kind of phone plan, what bank? And then once you are in the country, which supermarket is better? Where do I buy my clothes? How do I get around? Like, there are so many different things. Friendship groups. It gets exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. So in every one of these situations, we have to completely reset what is our autopilot, right? When we are in a familiar situation, we don't even have to think. Like I wake up in the morning, I already know what I'm gonna be doing, what I'm gonna be having. Yes, there are a lot of decisions that I have to take during the day, but I try to minimize them as much as possible. As a new person in a new city, in a new neighborhood, you don't have that luxury.
Hmm.
So every decision becomes uh, extremely important. So a lot of people end up thinking that because they have to make so many decisions, they end up not taking those decisions. They
Yeah.
end up postponing the moment
Yeah.
when they have to take those decisions. And they label themselves as indecisive or lazy, when in reality that's not the case. You are simply overloaded. You have too many options. So a good coaching prompt that we have here is, um, ask yourself which decisions in your day feel heavier than they should. And based on that, take a little bit off your plate, right? I think it was Steve Jobs who was
Hmm.
wearing the same stuff every day just because he was like, I mean, he was like, I
A
don't care. I'm
few
not
of those guys do that. If you
I'm turning
observe,
into that.
quite a few of those really top executive people do the same
Hmm.
thing. Yep.
I'm turning into one of, I mean, not money wise, but when it comes to decision fatigue, I'm turning into one of them. I'm like, I just don't care. Just give me a black sweater and I'm fine. But I'm wondering, science wise, if you could tell us a little bit more what there is behind the scenes that we need to know.
Yeah, so we spend so much mental energy on decision making per day. And if you think about it, all of those decisions can mount up to really start to drain our battery. Did you know that we, on average, every human on average, actually makes around 35,000 decisions per day?
That just
I'm just
makes me
going to
sick, even just the idea.
35,000. I should have asked, how many do you think you make in a day?
Well, to
35,000.
35, that I guess it does make sense because from the moment when even when you wake up, you have, if you
Yes.
can make a choice. You're like, shall I wake up now? Shall I
Yeah.
sleep 5 more minutes? And then when you get up, you
Yeah.
have to choose, like, especially now that I have, like, personally, I have my routine has changed recently with a new dog.
Mhm,
I'm like,
mhm.
now I think I'm finally going back into autopilot, but especially at the beginning was like, do I feed her first? Do I do my own things? Like it. So yeah, I see why 35,000 decisions a day, they add up pretty quickly.
I had to think and sit with that for a moment and go, really? 35,000? But you've already, I think, really clarified that in my brain just for a few things that you've just said there. Just the decision of just the order of what you do when you first wake up. Like, am I going to open the curtains? Am I going to go to the toilet? Am I going to have a shower before I go downstairs? Am I going to put this product on my face first? Am I going to
Hmm.
do. Um,
Yeah,
and then you've got to factor in other people that might be around you, so then that
yeah,
starts to change things.
yeah.
uh, so your interactions then start to have a knock-on effect of the decisions that you make, so you can really see how
Hmm.
35,000 could really add up quite
Easily.
quickly and quite easily. And we are talking about all of those small decisions that are included in that. And I think a lot of people, when you're thinking about decisions, we're always thinking about big life changing decisions. But I remember not long ago, my parents have barely ever bought new cars in their life. They've only had two brand new cars, actually, in their whole life. And so they recently got, as they like to call it, their last car. That's horrible, isn't it? Hopefully it isn't their last car. They're going to live forever. And they recently bought themselves a new car, and choosing the color for that car was so difficult for them.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, I had some pretty big life changing decisions to make. And my mum was like, I'm so embarrassed. But we have spent 3 weeks it's the most painful decision we've ever made. I was like,
Yeah.
come on, Come on, it can't be. But you know, the agony that I saw them going over, and I will tell you that they went with pistachio green in the end, so they went for
Whoa.
it. And it's,
Fashionable.
yeah, it's very out there, but it's very them.
Nice.
And and you can see how, you know, if you put a lot of energy into a decision, how much energy that takes up, right? If you
Yeah.
put focus into any decision, it can
Yeah.
really drain us.
Yeah.
Um, and if you sort of think about a glass that's already full to its brim and we're still sort of adding on top of it, it just starts to overflow and cascade.
Yeah.
And I know for certain that people like us who've moved internationally a million times or once even in their lifetime, yeah, that overflow is much more likely to happen quite early on in our experience of our move, right?
Mhm.
All of the
Mhm.
decisions that have to be made that come with it, the new environment, the new systems, the new expectations,
Mhm.
and we start to think, um, you know, really different things that we've never had to think about before, like,
Mhm.
can I um, say no to this interaction with this new person? Um, can I go and do certain things in this new culture that I could do back home? Or you're questioning whether you should do certain things, just like I don't know, be speaking to certain people that you're coming across in a different way. Maybe you might
Mhm.
offend them or do something
Yeah.
really
I mean,
controversial.
even just something simple like I remember when I moved to the States, for me, it was coming from London, it was normal to go to the supermarket, walk to the supermarket.
Yes.
And I remember like I couldn't do that anymore. So at the beginning it was such a stupid decision to make. But I remember just being like, why do I have to go by car? Like I just why can't I just walk to the supermarket? So and it was something new to me. So I think what you said, the 35,000 decisions a day could be, it is a mix of little teeny tiny things that we have to
Yeah.
choose every day, life changing decisions, and also some decisions that you never thought you had to make, but they are new because you are in a new place. Like, can I go can I have a walk after dinner? Is it safe in my neighborhood? Because I've never been around here at night. Like things that you never thought about before that were never a decision in the past, you know?
Yeah, and I like to sort of think about this analogy of driving a car, learning to drive a car. So I always think back to this in terms of when you're learning something new. When you're learning how to drive a car, initially everything feels really sticky, and you've got to think about your hands and you've got to think about your feet as separate entities, and you've got to think about the traffic outside as a separate entity. And so, you know, initially you've always got someone beside you hopefully guiding you, and then initially you might just practice in a car park somewhere, and hopefully there's no moving traffic around you. You start to eliminate things that are new where you suddenly have to make another decision and you're learning to put something together. And then over time, you start to put all of these things together without having to fully concentrate on your feet, without having to fully concentrate on your hands, without having to fully concentrate. So that now you can start to talk to the person that's next to you and have a conversation at the same time you're taking in all this information. And at some point, we do sort of go more into autopilot. And I think that there's a positive to autopilot when it comes to these scenarios. This is how we
Mhm.
can learn, this is how we can develop, this is how we can take on more.
Mhm.
So just remembering that when we're in a new environment, such as we've just moved to the other side of the world, initially everything feels bigger because we are learning, and having to make decisions about this new environment are going to take up more headspace and more energy. So first of all, just reminding ourselves that we're not stupid, we're not unintelligent,
Mhm.
we're actually just learning something new. It's really important to remember that.
Mhm.
And then just the whole decision of should I go or should I stay? That's a really big topic that a lot of clients come to me for. And again, it's not that we're stupid. It's not that we can't make this decision. It's just that we're overloaded.
Mhm.
So, for example, a really silly scenario. I was in the supermarket last week and there was two olive oils that were on the shelf that I needed to buy some olive oil, and the one that I normally buy just wasn't available, wasn't there. And I'm looking at these two other ones and they look kind of exactly the same, and I couldn't figure out what was different about them. And they were like the same price, same size, and I was just like, oh, for some reason I was just stood there looking at them, really upset that I couldn't get the one that I normally get. And I was just annoyed that I had to stand there and make this decision today. And it felt so huge. And I
Yeah.
was kind of like laughing to myself and thinking about my clients and thinking about my headspace all the time. That how am I making this into such a big deal? For goodness sake, Hannah, just pick one and let's get on with it. But I had to go through a little mini process. And this is
Yeah.
something that I do talk to my clients about. And I try to use. So I was just writing about it, in fact, this week in my newsletter. It's the 10-10-10 rule. So in 10 minutes, will this decision be an issue for me? In 10 months, will this be an issue for me if I don't make it right now, or if I do make it? In 10 years, will this be an issue for me or not? And quite easily, I realized that particular decision could be completely forgotten about in 10 minutes. I'm sure that the olive oil that I picked is totally fine.
Yeah.
I haven't opened it yet, but it's going to be fine. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't have to really overthink it. And it's just really the things that we need to think about are what is most important right now. And it might not
Mhm.
be the same for you. It might not be the same for me. We could have different values going on, okay? But just reminding ourselves that being indecisive doesn't mean that we're not capable or completely indecisive all of the time. It's just we could try to approach those decisions in a different way. I'm wondering if
Mhm.
there's any time recently that you've had where you've just been really super stuck in a indecision, and how did you get yourself out of it?
Oh, I think my major issue at the moment connected to what we're talking about is making decisions that are in line with the place where I live. Because I am used to live in a different way. Having spent a lot of time in the UK, having spent time in the US, um, I tend to stick to the rules. I love a good queue. I am always on time. Italians are not like that, right? And so, for example, the other day I just went to the city. I drove to the city center because I had to go to a shop, and it's a very busy area. And the only place I could find where to park was actually a place where I couldn't have parked, basically, like to unload and for products for big trucks, right? And a part of me was like, well, I cannot really park here because this is not a parking space for a car. And then there was the Italian side of me kicking in, say, yes, of course you can. It's just for 2 minutes, right? So I guess the main problem for me was deciding what to do that to be in line with aligned with who I am.
Okay.
And this is the major issue that I am having at the moment. Like the way I am, the person I am really struggles in this culture. And so what I can do is try and minimize as much as possible decisions that are not that important, or at least the decisions that are not that relevant, like what do I wear in the morning, or what am I having for lunch, what am I having for dinner? Because I know that when I find myself in these kind of situations, it is really challenging for me. It takes a lot of energy because it goes against who I am as a person now,
Yeah.
right? And it's like the same thing when someone skips the queue at the supermarket. and I have to make a decision, and I'm like, shall I say something? Shall I not say something? Like, the Italian in me says, "Oh no, it's fine. Everybody does that." But then there is the other side of me who's like, "No, that's freaking wrong. There is a queue and there's a queue for a reason. You should say something, right?"
I have a question for you. Were you
Oh,
like this before you went to the UK, or has the
no.
UK created this in you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you first went to the UK, did you adapt really quickly, or it took years?
Surprisingly, I adapted really quickly
So it was
because I
maybe
think it,
it was always in there.
yeah, I think it was just a part of me that I do understand fairness. I do understand that there are rules for a reason. I do understand
Good for you.
meritocracy, right? I do understand that there are a whole bunch of concepts and ideas that should be in place to have a cohesive and harmonious society, right? The problem is that I am surrounded by the opposite here. And so I'm really, when I make a decision here, I
Yeah,
always have to consider that it's probably, I'm not going to feel any better. Even if I tell the person that, hey, there's a queue, I'm supposed to be before you, or someone else is supposed to be before you. It's probably not going to make me feel any better because the other person will most likely turn around and say, yeah, whatever, and so, in that sense, it adds up to the decision fatigue. Like,
yeah.
is the decision that I am making in line with who I am as a person or not?
Absolutely. And I think what's what I'm sort of zooming out and observing here is that decision fatigue as a symptom doesn't need to be there all of the time. You know, it is possible to get ourselves out of decision fatigue. And there
Mm-hmm.
are times in our life when the amount of decisions that are coming at us, um, or the big decisions, because it looks like we've got 35,000 per day, but the big decision stuff that's coming at us, they sort of come and go in waves. So it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
like an ebb and flow through our life,
Mm-hmm.
especially for those of us who are choosing to move or to
Mm-hmm.
again. It could be a new career, it could be moving, could be all of those things together. Maybe you're newly,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're in a new relationship. All of a sudden there's new decisions that
Yeah.
we're making, so our capacity starts to lower in those times.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've heard from you here is that when your capacity starts to overflow, we could start to remove some of those decisions that have to be made. So
Yeah.
limiting our decisions on every day is really
Yeah.
helpful to us. And one of those ways
Absolutely.
that you've mentioned is starting to streamline stuff. So deciding to wear the same things every day. That's a
Yeah.
way for us to streamline things. Deciding to batch cook, perhaps, or I know families that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday know exactly what they're eating. And
Yeah.
it's the same every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Right.
Thursday, and
Right.
Friday. And I used to laugh at people like that because I know some families quite close to my family, including not my actual family, but I found out my aunt and uncle used to do this. And the first time I ever heard about it, I was like, that's so wild. But now that I'm an adult making lots of decisions,
Oh, that
I
makes
think that's
sense.
genius.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Absolutely get it.
and you know what? Speaking about batching, one thing that I had to make some decisions about my decisions. So, for example,
Yeah.
there are two things here that are connected. One of the very first things I learned when I started working in Florida was pick your battles.
Yeah. Sure.
You can't. It's just not possible to give the same amount of importance to everything and everyone.
Yeah.
So I know that there are some decisions that are more important to me because they are more aligned with who I am. So let's just take the queue, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or indicators while driving. I could easily avoid using indicators because in Italy, people don't even seem to know what indicators are. But for these two things, I've decided that I'm going to use indicators every single time. I'm not even thinking about making the decision anymore. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
And so I decided once, and I'm just going to use it all the time. Same
Yeah.
thing applies for the queue. If I see that someone skips the queue, I'm going to say something because I've just decided that it's worth it. It is something that, because when people don't really say anything, that's when problems keep on happening over and over again. And so I'm like, well, I'm just going to say what I think. I'm just going to say something about it because it's important to me. In other situations, I wouldn't probably say anything, but again, batch decisions
Yeah.
and think about it. Pick your battles. Is this an important decision to you that really makes a difference to you as a person? And then
I
you go
really
from
like that
there.
idea, and I really relate to a couple of them, especially the indicator part. Over in the US, they call them blinkers,
Oh
and
yeah.
I I think that already sums it up, the difference between a blinker and an indicator. Indicator means I'm telling you where I'm going. Blinker means I'm
Hmm.
just putting this light on for whatever reason, and no one bothers putting them on.
No, no, like Florida. I thought Florida was bad.
And you're from
Italy,
Italy telling
yeah,
me.
Italy is a whole. But I did, to be honest, when I moved here, I was like, have people always been like this?
Isn't that interesting? Mind you were so young when you left. That maybe you don't remember, because I feel like that about England, and I was older, but I feel like that about England.
Probably,
I don't always
probably.
remember how things are done back in my own country anymore. But it
Ah,
sounds like they still queue.
yeah, well,
If
yeah,
you're
they
living
do.
there.
Yeah, they definitely do. One
Oh, we
hundred
do
percent.
love a queue.
I do love a queue too, honestly. I love,
Something
especially like a
about
pub
it.
queue. No, no, the one I like the most is like the pub queue because it's not a queue,
No, that's
but
true, because
you but you know exactly, and the bartender knows exactly who came before, who's
absolutely.
first, who's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just, yeah, and
we all know the order.
yeah. But anyway,
Do love a queue.
um, do you
But I
have
like that
any?
you're talking about, I think that's really interesting. We're not just talking about simplifying our life here. You're actually saying, okay, I have made a decision that some of my decisions are going to be linked to my values now.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
a good way of figuring it out.
yeah,
Sometimes we just don't know what to do in a new situation, or something else has changed around us, especially for people like us who have moved around and suddenly the etiquette is different somewhere. And as long as we're not actually, really causing ourselves a true strong issue in a new environment, then yeah, I think that's a great way of just deciding, you know what, I'm going to stick by this rule in my
yeah.
life. This is what feels right for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so really, we've been talking about simplifying our life, and by simplifying our life, that does not mean that things are getting smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that we're creating a small world for ourselves. We're actually creating a lighter world for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. That's the way I
Yeah.
like to look at it.
Yeah.
So, just wondering about people out there who are listening and hearing about our decision fatigue, and whether you guys are relating with anything that we're talking about. We'd love to hear what has taken up an awful lot of mental capacity for you lately, and how did you handle it?
Yes, I think it's something that people who move abroad experience exponentially, but even people who do not move abroad. But I'm curious to hear the difference between people who have moved or are going to move abroad and people who haven't. Like, yeah, just it would be nice. And as always, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on YouTube. The handles are exactly the same. At the stretch zone underscore podcast. Um, I think that it was a very, very first episode. I'm really glad we had this conversation. It was really interesting. And if you find yourself thinking that you're stuck, you're not stuck. You're just tired.
Yeah,
Just you
exactly.
just you're just tired. Just take a day off. Just
Take
take
a
some
day
time
off.
for yourself. Take a day off and reset, rest, and then decide later.
That's actually a really good last little tip. Um, that is something that I work by. It's take the decision off the table for a day.
Yes,
Those really big
absolutely.
ones. Think about it
Yeah,
tomorrow.
exactly. Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm going to see you the next time. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Wrapping up today's episode, remember, you don't have to face change alone.
If you'd like to connect or learn more about working with us individually, reach out to us through our Instagram account at thestretchzone_podcast, or find our emails in the footnotes to this episode. We're here to support you on your journey, each in your own way.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Stretch Zone. If today's discussion resonated with you, remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with anyone who might benefit. Until next time, keep stretching beyond your comfort zone.